Hospitals were virtually empty for the period of the strike. Patients were, however, arriving at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital Wednesday morning to see the doctors, though the pharmacy remains closed. The government hospital pharmacists are still continuing with the strike with no end in sight.
We went around in the morning and then we found that the number was not as large as you would have in a normal day. And this is usually the case each time health workers embark on strike and then they are just resuming work. You find that they usually resume to a very slow start. So this is what we witnessed today. But we hope that in the next couple of days, the numbers will pick up.
At the Ridge OPD at Abraka, consulting rooms were also busy when the news team visited. Officials explained they expect traffic at the outpatients department to also pick up in the next few days.
By 9, all the doctors on duty this morning were at post. Yes, and the nurses have been around generally. All our clinics were running by 9. Today we've seen close to 50, which is quite good. So things are picking up. I guess a lot of people still are unaware that the strike is over.
Authorities at the various hospitals say they are hopeful the pharmacists will in due course also have a change of hearts to ensure adequate healthcare delivery.
Well, elsewhere, doctors at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital have resumed work following a directive from the leadership of the Ghana Medical Association to call off their month-long strike. Joy News' Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reports, though many people were unaware of the return of the doctors, the few who visited the hospital received attention. Meanwhile, elsewhere, research has shown that Ghanaian men over 65 years of age are at a high risk of contracting prostate cancer. The exact cause of prostate cancer, like many other cancers, is unknown. Not every year, though, the Kolebu Teaching Hospital records about 120 to 130 new cases, with 20 to 22 deaths per that number. The disease, however, takes 10 to 15 years before manifesting. To curb the trend and improve upon the situation, the Grand Lodge in Ghana, made up of Freemasons, has embarked on an education campaign towards that regard, with an aim to help humanity.
Cancer is one of the leading causes of death among men. Hospitals in Ghana alone recorded 669 cases between 2004 and 2012. Most Ghanaian men who are ignorant about the disease do not seek early treatment, which eventually spread to other parts of the body. A member of the Freemasons, Dr. Abraham Davis, in an interview with Joy News stated that the lecture is part of Freemasons' cardinal aim to communicate with people to improve the standards of humanity.
The question is, why prostate cancer? There are so many problems affecting the society, but this is the start. Today we are talking prostate cancer. The next time we'll be talking about stroke. The next time we'll be talking about other conditions for which Freemasons can share ideas with the entire community. See, ignorance is a big disease in the underdeveloped country, and one of the things we're trying to do is to provide information and knowledge so as to empower the citizenry to take their own lives into their own hands and seek help where it is necessary before it's too late. Prostate cancer affects a lot of men. Some are in denial, others attribute all kinds of things to it, but the thing is that you must seek help as early as possible so you can be properly looked after by the medical profession.
According to him, the Freemasons fraternity, which is made up of men with rich expertise in various disciplines of life, will continue educating people in various communities to know their problems and find solutions to them. Some members spoke to Joy News.
I think it's been an excellent lecture. It's opened our eyes to a lot of the things that we didn't know before about prostate. And I think it's something that every man should know about.
It's an enlightenment for we, the Freemasons, especially we are men. And this type of lectures normally tells us our status of this prostate cancer, which have been being bellowed out all over the country. So I feel such lectures will be very useful to this organization per se.
Prostate cancer, unlike other forms of cancer, tends to grow and spread slowly before it reaches other organs and tissues, including the bones.
Now, the Minister of Communications, the Minister of Education Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman has decried the rivalry between universities and polytechnics and called for closer collaboration between them to advance the country's development. She was speaking at the opening session of a two-day national policy dialogue on tertiary education in Ghana. But we'll bring you that story a lot later. Right now, though, a national data center to house electronic form official state documents and agreements will not be ready in July as originally scheduled. According to the contractor, it can only deliver the project in September. Minister of Communications Eduardo Mane-Boama, who toured the project site today, has however warned government will not bear additional costs arising from the delay in execution.
The center upon completion will serve as a backup for the storage of national data, as well as the preservation of official, local and foreign documents, so that in the event of a fire, as happened in the case of the Foreign Affairs Ministry building, such data will be preserved. Less than 2 months to the original July completion date, however, there remains a lot to be done. Scaffolds are still in place for the 7-story structure, with walls and other surfaces yet to be plastered. Several other fixtures were also yet to be installed. The minister blamed the main contractor, Top International Engineering Ghana Limited, who he says are holding back the work of the other subcontractors.
What the subcontractor is supposed to apply to the wall can only be applied when the surfaces are smoothened. The smoothening is the work of the main contractor. When the scaffoldings were erected, the main contractor did not deliver a smooth surface on time to allow the subcontractor to apply the surfacing. Clearly, that is at the doorstep of the main contractor. And so we have stated it time and time again that we will not commit 1 Ghana cedi of the taxpayers' money to fund delays that are not caused by government.
Project architect Isiedu Yurinchi tells Joy News the building with modern features will also house some agencies under the ministry, such as the National Information Technology Agency, the Advanced Information Technology Institute, and the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communication, GIFEC.
We have 3 floors of data center. There's the ground floor, the first floor, and the second floor. Then after the 3 floors, we have 4 floors of offices, starting from the 3rd floor to the 6th floor. Then we have a penthouse at the rooftop where we have the canteen, both senior staff and junior staff canteen, and also a finishing kitchen. The 3 lifts are the main lift. We have another lift that is for 1 department that is on the 3rd floor. They have a separate entrance. Data centers don't go off for even a minute. So we have 2 standby generators. Also, we have power supply from at least 2 sources from the national grid. We have closed circuit television to capture the whole building so that it could be monitored from screens.
Joy News has meanwhile learned alterations to the original structure are to blame for the delay. Top International Engineering Ghana Limited has, however, promised to complete the 34 million Ghana cedi project in September.
Right, in other news, the Electricity Company of Ghana has been directed to conduct a nationwide inspection of all markets to check and disconnect all illegal electrical connections. According to a statement signed by a Deputy Minister of Information and Media Relations, Felix Kwachi-Ofosu, the ECG is expected to move immediately to begin the exercise. He explained that illegal connections have been identified as one of the causes of market fires. He noted that government has also directed the security agencies to apprehend and prosecute any person or group of persons found to have engaged in illegal electrical connections in the market. The directive formed part of measures by government to curb the recent spate of fire outbreaks in markets across the country. Felix Kwachi-Ofosu assured that government will adopt all the necessary measures to prevent further outbreaks of fires in our markets. He, however, urged the public and those operating in the market to remain vigilant and be careful with naked fires, electrical equipment and connections in their stalls. Statesmen and renowned leaders of the country have been encouraged to share their life and work experiences by documenting them to serve as inspiration to others. According to renowned economist Kwame Pianim, such rich experiences must not be lost in time, but rather pass on to younger generations to help shape their lives. He made this assertion during the launch of Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo's memoir, Never Say Die, in Accra.
Never Say Die chronicles Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo's life as a doctor, military man, politician, a diplomat, sports administrator, coup plotter, and ex-convict. The memoir also gives vivid account of national event which Dr. Tamaklo was part of, whilst providing his perspective on the country's economy and politics. Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, who co-authored his autobiography, stated that facts contained in the book should not be taken as final decisions on issues it touched on. Rather, they should serve as extra information.
In writing this book, I did not detach my personality from the events narrated. I did not evacuate my subjective perspective from the matters covered. Hence, the representation and the construction of the realities captured in this book are unique to my perspective, and therefore I acknowledge a possibility for other realities and explanations to exist. This book is consequently not intended to be a final say on the topics covered, but rather a part of a conversation on the topics.
Reviewers of the book generally agreed the narrative makes for interesting reading and does not lack the usual controversy that surrounds the author.
There is quite a significant proportion of these non-proportional.
We're taking a break. We have more stories coming up. Don't go away. In other news, 2 persons have been killed in a bloody attack in the Kumasi suburb of Ashtown. The deceased, Victor Okra and Kwejo Asama, popularly known as Gausu, are said to have been butchered before being shot. In the incident, residents believe is a reprisal attack for the killing of one Mahfouz in the run-up to the 2012 elections. One of the deceased is said to have died on the way to the hospital, whilst the other died at the hospital. A report by Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin.
The deaths are believed to be linked to an incident in the run-up to the 2012 election in which one Mahfouz was stabbed and shot in both legs. According to police, a certain Gausu was part of the gang who shot and stabbed Mahfouz, but conceded they have been unable to apprehend him until today's attack at about 2 p.m. 2 of the assailants were on motorbikes, while the others were in a car. Police say they are investigating but cannot confirm the linkage to the election incident. Residents, however, maintain the 2 incidents are related.
A boy known about Johnny about Cosere, a bullet or the compassion. A born in I say, or born in I know. I want the compassion in it. I shot gun in a big joint, you know, or more fire.
The Ghana Journalists Association wants a truce with the military over the recent assault of 2 journalists at the Independence Parade. The association made the announcement after a meeting with Chief of Defence Staff Rear Admiral Matthew Kwashi, who also withdrew a controversial report exonerating the military officers said to have been involved in the incident.
The meeting at the behest of the GJA was attended by representatives from the editors' firm, Primpag, and some news editors, including those of GNA and Daily Guide. In brief remarks before entering into a closed session, the GJA president indicated their mission was to seek justice for the victims.
We think we need to revisit the issue so that justice will be seen to be done to the victims of this attack, as I said, in the full glare of the public. We here with an open mind to listen to your side of the story, because we believe that the reports which emanated from your investigation was one-sided. We're here to iron out, bear our minds as to how best to resolve this issue in the interests of media, military relationship.
Together, we look at these issues dispassionately and then come out with something that we will all be very happy with. The report that came to you, I will call it a misnomer, and I am declaring that report null and void now.
The two parties, after the closed-door meetings, announced they had reached some amicable settlement, declaring what they both describe as a new page in their relationship.
The CDS has apologized profusely to the media in general and the victims. And they, in turn, also accepted the apology in good faith. As far as the media are concerned, what happened on Independence Day has been consigned to the dustbin of history. We appeal to our people, please, total ceasefire on media front. Please, yes, down all your tools, all your weapons, because we are living here fully happy that we can look forward and be proud of military media relationship.
I believe each of us has a duty to perform, and in the performance of that duty, we have to be circumspect and ensure that we don't go beyond our boundaries. The media has a limit as to where they could go when it comes to matters of this nature. I believe that there had been a lot of understanding. We will continue to collaborate with the press. I'm glad about the truce. I believe we cease fire and we'll put the arms back to where they belong to.
The GJA has meanwhile announced the assaulted journalist will be compensated, adding that the officers will also be subjected to internal disciplinary actions. The meeting between the GJA and the Military High Command follows heavy public criticism of the armed forces over the report exonerating their officers. Gifty Andopia for Joy News.
The panel of justices at the Supreme Court hearing the election petition seeking to annul thousands of polling station results in the 2012 election today intervened in a growing rift between two key lawyers involved in the case. It follows remarks by counsel for the third respondent, Chachu Chikata, which lead counsel for the petitioners, Philip Addison, found or described as offensive. The court also ruled that Mr. Chikata could not introduce any more pink sheets into the hearing after allowing one yesterday. The third respondent argued was for identification purposes.
Legal counsel for the petitioners, Philip Addison, from the commencement of today's proceedings, pressed on with his objection to the cross-examination of Dr. Baumia on the basis of the fresh pink sheet. And though the court allowed the interrogation to persist for a while, it upheld the objection upon the introduction of another pink sheet.
I cannot speak to what you are thinking about. I'm going to ask you to identify. I cannot identify. I'm going to ask you to identify another pink sheet in respect of a polling station, fire service station, or pencil. And I'm going to ask you whether it was in the 24,000 and that you examined. I'm going to ask you to identify that, please. My Lord, I'm wondering whether our counsel wants to defy the court, because this is a matter that was ruled on yesterday. This morning, clarity has been given to this issue, and he's not raising it again. Is he defying the court? Because I don't understand what's going on here. Why is he insisting on bringing in pink sheets outside the 11,842 that is contention in this court?
Lawyer Addison, however, took to his feet to draw the court's attention to the suggestion his client was dishonest.
And I'm putting it to you that if you were honest in examining the 24,000 polling stations that you claim you examined, you would have found numerous instances of practices that you are now claiming are malpractices. You would have found numerous instances of those. I don't know why counsel can ask questions without using words like honesty and so on. It's quite surprising coming from him, talking about honesty. Really. These kind of words that he's been using, saying to the gallery. We have said that we do not want to reply in kind. He should choose his words carefully. There was no need at all to address the witness as being dishonest. Coming from him is quite rich.
After the proceedings, a member of the NDC legal team, Victor Adaudu, reiterated the line of questioning posed by Chachuchikata had exposed the claims of election malpractices by the NPP.
Mr. Chachuchikata once again has demonstrated that yes, there are loopholes in their cases, the exhibits that they have brought and the allegations that they have made are all untrue. There have been admission that even their own affidavit that they swore to that they will speak the truth. They are untrue allegations that they have made. And quickly he says that they have deleted those issues. But the fact is that they were not speaking. He has not been honest. And I think Mr. Chachuchikata is punching holes into what they have brought.
Spokesperson for the NPP legal team, Gloria Ekufo, however, indicated the petitioners had nothing to hide and will fight this case with every knowledge of the law.
We had previously also put in our further and better particulars, putting out all what we considered all our evidence in advance. Now here we are faced with a situation where we are being surprised. The essence of putting out these documents ahead of time is to enable each party to study carefully the other party's case with a view of preparing itself to either respond or maybe even decide not to contest. That is the essence of making these disclosures. They have not, but most instructively, whilst they have, and Mr. Chikata has been cross-examining for around 1 week, all he's been trying to establish is that no overvoting took place in our pink sheets that he showed to Dr. Baumia, only for him to turn around to say that indeed there was overvoting in other places outside.
The Minister for Education, Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman, has decried the rivalry between universities and polytechnics and called for closer collaboration between them to advance the country's development. She was speaking at the opening session of a 2-day national policy dialogue on tertiary education in Accra.
Until recently, higher education referred to only universities. It was only in the 1996 education reform process that universities and polytechnics were lumped together into tertiary education category, even though there still appears to be a wedge between the two. The education minister, however, says the rivalry is needless.
Polytechnic education is strategic in shaping the trajectory of Ghana's industrial development. Polytechnics were elevated to the status of tertiary institutions to offer practical programs to develop middle-level manpower. There will be no departure from this crucial objective. Indeed, the Polytechnic University will deepen this intent. These technical universities will not be replicas of our existing universities. They will complement the existing universities by applying the research findings of the existing universities. So we are asking for closer relationship between these two.
The consultant and advisor of Africa's Higher Education Dialogues Trust Africa, Dr. Omano Edigeji, emphasized the need for Africa to start producing inventors rather than certificate holders.
African HE sector is churning out consumers, job seekers, graduates who are unemployable. Just to buttress the point, if you compare to Asia as an example, their graduates. An African will have an A in a class, the Asians will have a B. The Asian will be able to turn his ideas into a tangible product. The contrast is the case in the African continent. Consequently, including the mic that I'm holding, is imported.
Ghana now has 9 public universities and over 55 private universities and university colleges and 10 polytechnics. The forum is expected to draw a roadmap that will ensure economic growth in the country and across the sub-region.
Business is brought to you in association.
Says it has already instituted measures to manage any unexpected sharp fall in the value of the cedi. The assurance follows reports the local currency is expected to record its worst decline by the end of this year. Governor Dr. Kofi Wampa says they have even tightened measures already instituted and also increased the supply of dollars.
We will continue with its tight monetary policy stance. And in this regard, policies that we implemented in the second quarter of last year will not be relaxed. This should be able to restrict demand for forex. Meanwhile, the bank will continue to apply the Foreign Exchange Act and regulations vigorously. Any institution, including banks, that fall foul of the laws will be sanctioned appropriately. We intend to ensure that the cedi remains the only legal tender in this country. In this regard, we need the cooperation of the banks, who are the main forex dealers, the state institutions, and all other relevant institutions to achieve this objective.
Meanwhile, a redesigned Collateral Registry launched today should make it a lot easier for small and medium-scale enterprises and businesses to secure loans from financial institutions with their assets. Though most financial houses will prefer immovable property such as land and buildings, experts agree the registration of movable assets makes them fairly secure. They explain this should free up credit to the SME sector, which finds it very difficult to attract funds for expansion.
In order to modernize the activities of the credit delivery markets in the country, the Bank of Ghana, in collaboration with the International Finance Corporation and the Swiss State Secretariat for Economic Affairs, redesigned the registry's operations and systems to also conform to international best practices. The establishment of the registry by the Bank of Ghana forms part of efforts to deepen public understanding of the Borrowers and Lenders Act 2008 to promote transparency in the credit delivery system. The existence of the registry will ensure that no single asset is presented as collateral twice. Central Bank Governor Dr. Wampa says the registry has proved quite critical since its inception.
By the end of March 2013, a total of 49,000 charges that secured loans with 104,000 collaterals had been registered. Of these, 80% were movable assets and 13% were immovable assets. The registry has attracted significant interest from sister central banks on the continent.
Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, Seth Tekpe, called for more collaboration between the registry and other registries to avoid duplication.
As a small business, which may be operating from a container or others, or from a shop front, which you are renting, which is not yours, you can use other assets, like your car, like others, and that is the shift, and that is what it is. And the contribution that the registry is making is that anybody who is lending, including microfinance institutions, if you say I have title, to a car, you can come and check whether it is registered. Because immediately the title changes, it has to change also, so that we have a central registry, which, those who give money, can, to SMEs in particular, can have a means of checking.
Now, the Jubilee Field has now produced 65 million barrels of crude oil since it began commercial production in 2010. This was contained in an interim management statement released by Tullow Oil PLC today. The Jubilee operator also puts average daily production of crude oil at 104 barrels a day. Tullow adds that it has worked on the gas compressor on the FPSO to address any further future challenges. The head of economic statistics at the Ghana Statistical Service, Magnus Ebu Duncan, has resigned. He tendered in his resignation letter last week, citing personal reasons. But Joy businesses gathered this could have been instigated by some apparent disagreement between himself and the acting government statistician, Dr. Philomena Nyako. He joined the service in 1990 as a regional statistician before rising through the ranks to assume his position as the head of economic statistics. Mr. Duncan spearheaded a review of the basket of goods and services for calculating inflation rates. His exit is coming at a critical time when the service is planning to use the revised basket in inflation computation beginning with the April figures. The Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa, GIABA, is set to implement international standards against money laundering and terrorist financing in the country. The move, with the help of the Financial Intelligence Center, is to strengthen legal and institutional frameworks in combating the menace. We bring you some smart investment tips now. Right, Lifebuoy is encouraging workers in Ghana to adopt healthy habits such as hand washing on at least 5 critical occasions in the day: before breakfast, lunch and supper, and after using the washroom and while bathing. The brand has been educating workers as part of a week-long campaign on the need to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
To support themselves on elevators, they put their hands here, catching their breath during a big event like May Day. They put their hands on these rails, from the rail to their mouth, without washing, taking money from buyers after selling. She does not wash her hands and starts to eat. From the dance floor, sweating with her hands on the ground, this is where it ends up, in bowls of food.
You touch a lot of things throughout the day. So if you don't wash your hands before eating, you are ingesting the germs that have settled on your hands. So studies show, for instance, that washing your hands with soap can prevent diarrheal diseases, reduce diarrheal diseases by about 47%.
To prove that people's hands were really dirty and that it was not enough to wash your hands with water before eating, Lifebuoy has been campaigning on hand wash. At the TUC canteen, after a hard day's work, even in the office, this is how the water they used to wash their hands looked like. Hand washing before eating with soap is therefore essential, but not with just any soap. Lifebuoy gives the protection from germs and gives a clean feel, which workers agree.
I really do. Yeah, genuinely. When I finished washing, I just told them, I like the feel of this, and then the feel on your fingers, really nice.
So are you going to get some on the shelves
someday? Yeah, yes, sooner than later, because I think that's one of the challenges I find, that hand washing soaps on the market, the local ones, are really not up to it.
Hungry workers at the Nut Hall, their favorite food is banku and tilapia. Quickly, they come here to wash their hands. With no soap to wash their hands available, the Lifebuoy stance saves the situation. The friendly smell of the soap and the germ control content they indicated will send them to the shelves for Lifebuoy. Spreading Lifebuoy's tenterhooks, they were at the Accra Mall. Excited shoppers, having held dusty items on the shelves, come here to wash their hands. Good hand washing is the first line of defense against the spread of many illnesses, from the common cold to more serious illnesses such as meningitis, influenza, hepatitis A, and most types of infectious diarrhea.
We bring you international news next.
Sports. Right, time for the very latest in the world of sports. My name is George Adejunior, and we're going to talk about the Globe Premier League because match day 25 fixtures took place. Very, very interesting in terms of what's happening on top of the table and the permutations. We'll be looking at that pretty shortly because a number of the games very, very exciting. Asante Kotoko fans are definitely looking forward over there. So let's now look at the results and how everything happened on the midweek fixtures. Now here you have it. Ebuswan Dwarfs beat Ken Fireslaw by 3 goals to 1. They have stepped up, surely ensuring that they are now now really part of the title challenge over there. Kumasi Asante Kotoko drew goalless with Mediama SC at the Babayara Sports Stadium. So Kotoko and Mediama will stay joint second in that one. We'll look at the table later on. Liberty Professionals beat Arsenal by 2-1. A lot of issues for Liberty Professionals in terms of whether they're going to stay in the league or be relegated. They are now making sure that the survival campaign is actually on over there. Then Ash Gold beat Heart Lions by 3-2, while All Stars drew goalless with New Dubiase. Now, Brecum Chelsea actually beat Tema Youth in that particular game by 3-2 over there. And Heart of Oak managed to beat Tamale United by 4-2. Now, in this particular game, Mahatma Otu got 2 more goals. Heart of Oak find themselves on the number 6 position. Mahatma Otu is now the top goal scorer with as much as 15 goals in that one. So you can see that the comeback for Hearts of Oak is really complete over there. We'll now look at the table and look at how the permutations are looking like, especially at the top where it's very, very tight, I can tell you. Brecum Chelsea have actually opened a 3-point lead here. They have 46 points. Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Mediama SC have 43 points apiece. Now, Dwarfs and Ash Gold are pretty much into this particular fight because they all have 41 points each. And then Accra Hearts of Oak have managed to make it to the 6th position. Now, we look at the bottom of the table. RTU, we know, are goners. Arsenal have 24 points. Tema Youth have 26 points. Heart of Lions have 29 points. So a quick one there. You can see the Liberty Professionals have actually moved out of this and are free. We are now talking a lot about Dubiase, Heart of Lions, Tema Youth and Arsenals, who are actually going to be joining RTU in the relegation battle there. Let's do some more. We're talking about the Globe Premier League really, and tomorrow marks exactly 12 years when the country was thrown into disarray following the death of 125 people at the Accra Sports Stadium. The tragic incident happened during a Premier League game between arch-rivals Hearts of Oak and Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Police officers at the stadium then fired tear gas into the stands in their efforts to control angry fans after Hearts of returned a 1-goal deficit to lead 2-1. Resulting in a stampede which ended the lives of 127 fans. To date, the country has made it a point to commemorate this sad day on our football calendar. And the Ministry of Sports and the National Sports Authority have lined up some activities to mark the day. Michael Frimpong speaks for the Sports Ministry.
Some 127 football fans lost their life during a match between Kumasi Asante Kotoko and Accra Hearts of Oak. And ever since, we've been commemorating the May 9th anniversary. And come Thursday will not be different from what we've been doing in the past. And as part of activities marking this year's anniversary, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, in collaboration with the National Sports Authority, have outlined 3 programs for the event for this year's anniversary. 6 o'clock on Thursday, 6 o'clock in the morning, there's going to be a health walk. We've invited all the supporters union groups. After that, at 9 o'clock, there's going to be the red laying ceremony in remembrance of those who lost their lives in that fateful day. On that fateful day, then the last program for the day will be held at the media center, and that one will be the health and safety talk.
So just before I step out of the studio, let's talk about this. Now, you know that Alex Ferguson has announced that he's retiring at the end of the season. And what has happened now is that the shares of Manchester United have dropped just this evening. Quite impressive and quite, interesting with how all of these things are happening over there. Now, for Chelsea, they drew 2-0 with Tottenham Hotspur. That means that Chelsea and Arsenal have it in their hands to qualify for the Champions League. All they need to do is to score and win the rest of the 2 games. Tottenham Hotspur will have a lot to do in that one. That'll be all for sports. My name is George Addy Jr. Israel join us with Showbiz right after this. Have a good night.
Sports was brought to you in association with
Miss Ghana Beauty Pageant 2013 has been launched in Accra and will kick off on May 30 with a 3-day national audition. The 2013 edition of the pageant is witnessing some changes, as this time around, auditions are only in the country's capital.
The 2013 edition of Miss Ghana Beauty Pageant, which will be held in July, will start a 3-day auditioning from May 30 to June 1. At a press briefing in Accra, the organizers said this year's pageant audition will be held in only the nation's capital, unlike previous years when it rotated around the country. Asked why this change, the CEO of Exclusive Events Ghana, Ina Mariam Patti, explained that this has come about due to timelines the event has to conform to.
There are certain deadlines
we work with an international calendar, and in as much as Na happens to be leaving, it's inappropriate to have her hanging in there, and when we're ready to crown, she's not here, she's gone into camping for the Miss World. So we had to, have an earlier date for our grand finale, which will be in July. And in line with that is an exciting development. You'll get to know about it before the end of this month, because we would have dotted our I's and crossed our T's.
According to her, Miss Ghana 2013 is complete with exciting packages, and the concept of giving out 3 cars to the first 3 winners still holds. Miss Ghana 2013 gets to keep her car, while her 2 runner-ups use theirs officially for a year. Winners will still get cash rewards, products from sponsors, paid holiday trips, internship and branding opportunities with sponsors, donors and partners. Miss Ghana 2012, Na Okaili Shooter, who was present at the launch, said she was confident of being crowned as the next Miss World.
We have a lot of events that we go through before the final night, and we did that last year, 2012. We did bikini, we had pre-judging sessions, we did something at CSR. So all these things, all the mini events and stuff that we went through, last year, have prepared me. So it's something that I'm looking forward to. I believe that Ghana and Africa as a whole, the world is smiling at us. I believe that it's a good time for Africa.
Auditions for the 2013 pageant will take place at the Travel Express Hotel in Accra from May 30 to June 1.
The first permanent museum dedicated to Swedish pop group ABBA has opened its doors to the public in Stockholm. The opening of the museum comes almost 40 years after the Swedish music quartet shot to fame on the wings of the Eurovision Song Contest. Now, to wrap up the bulletin, patients are beginning to make their way back to the public hospitals following suspension of the month-long strike by doctors. 2 persons have been killed in a bloody incident in the Kumasi suburb of Ashtown. Supreme Court justices today intervened to calm flaring tempers between lawyers in election petition hearing. The Ghana Journalists Association has called for a truce with the military after recent assault of journalists. And in business, the central bank has assured the public about the cedi's stability. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Have a good evening.